All right, worst fragrances according to you. What are your worst fragrances? Let me know. Put a comment down below. And while you're at it, let me know what your worst note is, what your worst fragrance house is. I'd like to find out. But today, this is part 4 of a series of videos I've done on worst fragrances according to you. Find out about these fragrances coming right up. Thanks so much for tuning in. It's Sebastian. We're talking about worst fragrances according to you. But I also have one worst note according to you and also one worst house according to you in this video. But we're going to go ahead and get started with the first fragrance. And I'm going to read you the comment that I received. Patchouli Magnetic is one of the worst fragrances I've ever smelled. Ambre Chromatique I did love though. So this comment I don't agree with whatsoever because it's the reverse for me. I hated Ambre Chromatique. In fact, I featured it in a video of amber fragrances that launched that year that I hated. There was a bunch back to back I didn't care for. But I absolutely love Patchouli Magnetic. What's the deal with Patchouli Magnetic? It's pretty overwhelming. First of all, it's a room filler and it's very, very long lasting. And I think it's the overwhelming qualities of this fragrance that doesn't sit with people very well. And also the fact that it's a creamy patchouli, a bit tropical, very humid and warm. Gardenia, patchouli, sandalwood, benzoin, white peach, vanilla, leather. So yeah, it does have a very overwhelming quality. For me, I get compliments from this one because of its longevity. And also when it dries down and you think the fragrance has disappeared, you perspire a little, your body heats up a little bit, and the fragrance starts, projecting off of you, and people get whiffs off of you. For me, it's a love. I love this one. It's my favorite in this red bottle series. I don't care for Hibiscus Mahajad. I don't care for Ambre Chromatique. I did like the new tuberose that's in this collection. Hopefully I'll report on it very soon. But for me, I absolutely love Patchouli Magnetic. But it's interesting, a lot of people don't like this one. Maybe because it's just overwhelming. Do you enjoy Patchouli Magnetic from the House of Maison Crivelli? Let me know, put a comment down below. Let's move on to the next fragrance. AMOUAGE Silver Oud has to be the worst thing I've ever smelled in my life. How anyone actually wants to smell like that is beyond my comprehension. Yes, if you caught my video on Silver Oud, I had a challenging time with this one. It's quite animalic, also very charred, smoky, and once again, it's very overwhelming. This is it right here. It came out in a different bottle. Then AMOUAGE decided to do uniform bottles for them, and so they put it in a bottle like this, which I like as well, and I have the other one, and it's a great collector bottle for me to have. And sometimes to pull out and sniff. But for me, it's a bit challenging. It's too dark. There's not a lot of sweetness in here. And so I want a little, balance. But it goes into a very dark, smoky, leathery, oudi direction. Very animalic. Featuring Cypriol, oud, Castoreum, vanilla, amber, Guaiac wood, birch wood, cedar, and patchouli. So the notes in there are quite potent, intense, dark, animalic, woody, leathery. So it becomes very overwhelming, and I could see why some people do not like that fragrance. I'm challenged with it as well. I want a little sweetness, some brightness with my dark fragrances. I enjoy animalics to an extent. One of my favorite animalics is Salome, but Silver Oud is pretty challenging. Let me know if you're a fan of it or not. Put a comment down below. Let's move on to the next fragrance. So we've got a comment that says, one of the worst smells on a video of mine about kerosenes followed. This is a pretty challenging fragrance. I enjoy the smell and I'm challenged with it because of its potency and intensity. Now there's actually, I don't know, it's a rumor that this fragrance has gotten reformulated. Some people don't experience what I experience. And I don't know. Some people comment and say, apparently I'm being paid to promote this fragrance and say it's the beastliest fragrance. And they apparently think it's not. I don't know what's going on. I'm not getting paid to speak about Kerosene Followed. I am saying it's one of the worst because it lingers on forever. On me, it lingers on forever. I still have a jacket that smells like it. It's sprayed over a year and several months prior to when I first started wearing this. So the fragrance really lasts, and I think that's what's really causing this intensity for some people to hate it, and others think it's weak. So I don't understand what's going on. Maybe different formulations or whatever. I got my bottle from Ministry of Scent. It's so intense. The fragrance is also a room filler. It creates a cloud, and then it kind of drizzles down and gets all over your clothes, and that's how your clothes end up smelling like it. My pants had to be dry cleaned 2-3 times before the smell went away. Jacket, an expensive jacket, but it's still on there, and I can't seem to get rid of it. But for me, it's really intense. Coffee, cocoa, caramel, maple syrup, vanilla, and amber. What do you guys experience with Kerosene's Followed? Intense, long-lasting, or weak? I don't know what you guys experience, and it's kind of a toss-up between who comments, but a lot of people say it's just very overwhelming. It follows you. It's called Followed. Or some people say it's not what people are saying it is. So let me know, put a comment down. But because people say it's the worst, I think it's because it's overwhelming. Again, it's a room filler. I've sprayed it in here, come back days after days after days. The smell is in here, and it doesn't happen with any other fragrances. It is really long lasting. I won't even spray it now, but I can smell it as soon as I open the cap. So it's Followed from the house of Kerosene. Please let me know what you experience with that fragrance. Moving on. A comment that I received, it says, "This stuff is horrible. I literally threw the small bottle I purchased out. One of the worst fragrances I've ever put my skin on. Not much more I can say. Maybe it was a stale old batch. It was horrible." They're talking about GOUTAL's Eau d'Adrien. I think it's one of the brightest, tart, fresh fragrances. I was going to say sweet tart. Maybe it's a bit sweet tart, but it's more sour tart. There's an astringency about it. It's very lemony with lemons and cypress and citron, grapefruit, mandarin, aldehydes, and ylang ylang. So it's quite overwhelming with the intensity of the tartness and the astringency and its sour qualities. But for me, it's a really great smelling lemony fragrance. It has gotten weaker for sure. I first wore it in the late 90s, and it was so super potent the way fragrances used to be back then. It's a bit weak now, but I don't understand how anybody could hate this fragrance, because it really is bright, a room brightening. Like if you spritz it, you're gonna have a very bright day. Lemons for me brighten up my day a lot, and I enjoy lemons in fragrances, but maybe they got a bad batch. What are your thoughts on Eau d'Adrien? Let me know. An equivalent to this, or perhaps a clone of it, is Aquaviva from the house of Parfumum Roma, which I also enjoy. This is to me one of my favorite fragrances of all time, because it's one of those fragrances that was, created a long time ago, and it's, still lingering here now to this day, and I really appreciate it. But let me know if you're a fan of Eau d'Adrien. Do you like that? And how about Aquaviva from Parfumum Roma? So the next comment that I received is for 2 different fragrances, and I'm going to go through them real quickly. But do let me know if you have a fragrance that you consider the worst that you've smelled, a note that you consider the worst note, and also a brand that you consider the worst brand. But this comment says, "I had high hopes for Pegasus since everyone is raving about its vanilla almond scent. Oh my god, I hated it. It smells like straight up Raid spray. Feel the same for LAYTON. Awful scents. PDM has some good ones like Carlisle, Herod, and Godolphin. Pegasus is not gourmand, which I thought it would be, and that cold metallic smell is very off-putting." So Pegasus is metallic. It comes in this silver bottle, and that's kind of what you're going to get. But for me, it's also almondy, powdery. For me, it's kind of like a take on a fougere with its lavender note in here. There's sandalwood, there's heliotrope. For me, it's got that kind of metallic edge with warmth and aromatics. And I think the aromatics together with some of the notes, it's creating this kind of a metallic edge. I like it. It's not like one of my favorite fragrances from Marley. I appreciate it. There's some other fragrances out there that are similar to this. It's a pleasant scent, but I'm not raving about this particular fragrance compared to other fragrances. But what do you guys think about Pegasus? Let me know. Moving on to LAYTON is also a fragrance this commenter considers one of the worst. This one actually is hyped quite a bit. A lot of people like it. There was a time I really enjoyed it. I'm a bit bored of it right now. Perhaps they got their nose on LAYTON Exclusive, which is a bit animalic compared to the original. But I like this fragrance. It smells pretty darn good. It does have a bit of a mass appealing quality with the bergamot, lavender, geranium, vanilla, precious woods, caramelized coffee. To me, it also seems like Layton and Herod could have created something like Carlisle, because for me, Carlisle, this person likes it, but I don't understand why they don't like Layton, because there's some similarities there, but I also feel like I said, Carlisle is an offspring of Layton and Herod because they have kind of similar qualities about them. Anyway, Layton, I think it's a really great fragrance. Again, I'm a bit bored of it, but I enjoy it. Moving on to the next comment, to the worst fragrances of all time. For me, in my opinion, the worst smelling fragrance I've smelled was SINTRA, but they mean SINTRA, by MEMO Paris, because of that dominant sharp Petitgrain note, mixed with the orange blossom, made it smell like sweetgrass. So SINTRA is MEMO Paris's take on something like Love Don't Be Shy. It's the combination of orange blossom combined with the kind of vanillic sweet notes, marshmallow caramel notes. But for this one, they have thrown in the Petitgrain note. And Petitgrain is the leaves of the orange tree where the orange blossom is taken from, that same tree. But you also have the leaves utilized, and it creates a bitter, earthy green woodiness. And I think that's what they're kind of rubbed the wrong way with this one. So it's a bit different take on that, like I said, the Love Don't Be Shy DNA. They're throwing in the green curveball here, and I think this person doesn't like this. I actually really enjoy Petitgrain and fragrances. Maybe it might be a bit off-putting in here, and some people who are sensitive to certain notes, it stands out more because they're so sensitive to it. Because for me, if I'm sensitive to a note like Cologne, I'll bring that note up again later on in the video. But I'm very sensitive to it, and it stands out in a fragrance, and I can't tolerate it. So most likely this person is, put off by the smell of Petitgrain. But what do you guys think of SINTRA from the house of MEMO Paris? Do let me know. Put a comment down below. But moving on to the next fragrance. Easily the worst fragrance I've ever smelled is KILIAN Paris Apple Brandy on the Rocks. It's a shame because the original version is stunning. Apple Brandy on the Rocks smells like an industrial window cleaning product. You couldn't pay me to wear it. Do you guys get that with this one? I thought it was pretty darn good. And I complain a lot about KILIAN fragrances for the fact that they are kind of wimpy fragrances. They do create a lot of great smelling fragrances. I think a lot of their fragrances do smell really quite great. But there's differences between Apple Brandy on the Rocks and Apple Brandy. There is a more of a fresh appley smell with Apple Brandy on the Rocks versus Apple Brandy, but maybe that's what's doing it for them. It's bergamot, pineapple, cardamom, oak, and cognac. And maybe it's the pineapple note to give it kind of like a freshness about the fragrance, to give it like more of like a fresh fruitiness, versus Apple Brandy was a bit more warm, spicy, kind of a more like a boozy, cognac-y kind of smell. But I don't know. I like it, but it's not one of my all-time favorites from this house. And again, I complain a lot about KILIAN fragrances because their fragrances do seem a bit weak to me. I don't know, some people say it's beast mode. I don't get that. But either way, by KILIAN's Apple Brandy on the Rocks. Are you a fan of that one? Do let me know. Put a comment down below so I can find out. Maybe you hate it as well. Okay, now we're getting into some oody, leathery territory. The worst fragrance I've ever smelled is Temple by Terenzi. Sheer horror. Wear it for Halloween if you want to scare people with your stench. That's a good one. I love that comment, and I kind of agree with this person because it's quite shocking. It is a very fecal oud fragrance, and it's interesting. They've got this really overwhelming oud in this one. This is the fragrance right here. It says Temple. It does say, yeah, Temple. It is, yeah, it's pretty shocking because they've got this very fecal, dirty, animalic oud against a top, a heart, and a base note of Lily of the Valley, which is the greenest, most spring-like white floral note that you can have. And even though it's dominated by the Lily of the Valley note, that oud is just eating up the Lily of the Valley alive. Like, totally. It's a daring fragrance. In addition to the oud and the Lily of the Valley with the top, heart, and base notes, there's amber, but you can't get past how strong the oud is against the Lily of the Valley. Yeah, eventually the fragrance dries down to an amber with a little bit left of the Lily of the Valley, but wow, this is pretty animalic. In fact, it's much more animalic than Silver Oud. So the person that complained about Silver Oud, I wonder what they would think about Temple. It is pretty shocking. I agree. I totally agree with that comment. And this is a very challenging fragrance. But do you guys know this one? Have you tested it? Do let me know. Put a comment down below. It's pretty strong with the animalics. But moving on to Gucci Guilty Absolute. The next person did not like Gucci Guilty Absolute. They said, by far the worst fragrance ever created. Has the odor of a used work boot you would find in the trunk of an abandoned car. Yuck, that does not sound very pleasant. I don't get that. I like this one. In fact, when this came out back in 2017, I thought it was kind of like, yes, designers are doing something really cool. There's animalic parts about it, but in a designer way, not like this Temple. Oh my god. I mean, I wonder what this person would say about Temple in comparison to the Gucci Guilty Absolute, because this animalics for this one, the leather here is definitely very tolerable, but I can see people that are not used to these kind of smells, and these kind of smells were very popular in the 80s in men's fragrances. Leather was pretty prominent, and so that's why I thought this was kind of like, you know, paying tribute to some of the fragrances of yesteryear. Alberto Morillas did a great job with this one. It's leather, woods, vetiver, cypress, patchouli, very masculine fragrance, and nothing like what is popular out there these days. But if basically you're used to the fragrances of the designers now and you put your nose on this might come off a bit challenging. For me, it's not. I'm challenged by Temple. I absolutely adore Gucci Guilty Absolute. What are your thoughts? Let me know. Put a comment down below. Moving on to the next one. They are talking about Matier Premier's Falcon Leather, one of the top 10 in my worst perfumes list. Yeah, it's pretty... I don't know. This is actually quite good. It's, I guess it can have animalic qualities. It's birch tarry, so it's very smoky. It's vegetal leather, birch tar, saffron, labdanum, benzoin. So it's ambery. It's for sure got the amber benzoin combo with the labdanum, but it's got a lot of birch wood, which creates the smokiness. It's charred smelling, and then the saffron contributes to the spiciness and also providing more of a leather effect. And they've got vegetal leather, it says. I actually really enjoy this one. To me, it's not animalic. In fact, I might consider Gucci Guilty Absolute a bit more animalic than Matier Premier's Falcon Leather. But perhaps it's the birch tar that's in here that's kind of like rubbing this person the wrong way, because it creates a very smoky, charred smell. But to me, it smells really nice. I really like this one, and I would wear it over and over again. But I don't think it's for everybody. So what are your thoughts on Falcon Leather? Do let me know. We've got one more leather coming up. Kajal 4 is one of the worst ones I've wasted my money on. And to me, Kajal 4 is kind of like Kajal's take on something like Tuscan leather. It's with dates. It's leather, dates, cardamom, rum, jasmine, davana, cassis, palm tree, vanilla, woods, and musk. What are your thoughts on this one? I thought this was a great creation. Nothing original. It does remind me of Tuscan leather, but with the addition of the davana, which creates a little booziness, the rum to contribute to more booziness, and the dates to give it a bit of a Middle Eastern edge. I like this one. I don't know. Maybe they're not even used to the Tuscan leather DNA to kind of not appreciate something like this. But have you guys smelled Kajal 4? Definitely, I think it's solid. Like, as far as the work goes, it's solid. Again, it's nothing original because we've smelled this kind of fragrance before, but this is Kajal's take on this kind of a Tuscan leather-like fragrance with the dates and the boozy notes and the davana and things like that. But that's my thoughts on this one. Kajal 4, really wonderful leather fragrance that's a great alternative to Tuscan leather. So the next comment is for two fragrances once again. The two worst fragrances, without a shadow of doubt, are Cocaine by Frank Boclet and Baccarat Rouge 540. Cocaine smells like bad breath, and Baccarat Rouge smells like toilet bowl water to me. I don't know how people enjoy them. Well, I was a big fan of Cocaine at one time, but I think it's gotten reformulated, so I haven't noticed how great it used to be. It used to be so beast mode, but now it seems a bit of a weakling. I used to really enjoy it, but it was kind of a beachy take on tuberose with kind of warm notes and tobacco and things like that. It's disappointingly reformulated, I think, right now, which is sad. But I think I don't get the bad breath smell. I don't. No. Maybe kind of like spices and white flowers and kind of like a beachy characteristic there with that Manoi oil. And the lily is very strong in here as well. But do you guys get bad breath with Frank Boclet's cocaine? And let me know what your thoughts are on the fragrance itself. Do you experience it as beastly as it once used to be? And then Baccarat Rouge Toilet Bowl Water. It's ambergris. It's ambroxan. So that's going to be the note that I'm going to talk to you about here in a bit. I can see people are offended by this note and don't like it. It comes off very synthetic. But there is something addicting about this fragrance. And again, at one time I thought it smelled like industrial grease manufacturing plant. But it grew on me so much because I smelled it so much. I absolutely love it, and it's addicting. It's an addicting smell. Cocaine. It's almost like cocaine. Ambergris, or I should say ambroxan, because ambroxan is an ambergris alternative. Ambroxan does smell like cocaine to me, and that's what I like about this one. But it's not for everybody, and sometimes people will get used to either notes that they don't like or fragrances they don't like. I didn't like Baccarat Rouge 540. I absolutely love it now. What do you guys think? Do you enjoy it? So that leads me to the worst note. I've got a few comments about the worst note. So it's ambroxan, as I was saying. Ambroxan is in my top 5 worst notes. Horrible, so when I see it listed, it's an instant no way. Along with birch, tuberose, aldehydes, and powder. And then this one says, "Hi Sebastian, oh my god, ambroxan is to me the most disgusting note ever. I can't really stand this fake note, from Thomas Cosmola products all the way to Parfums de Marly Valaya. Ambroxan is a very despicable, nauseating, and vomit-inducing chemical." Yeah, it's a chemical note to replace and to replicate the smell of ambergris, but to me, they don't smell anything alike. Sometimes ambergris can be very, very screechy, metallic, animalic. I don't care for it, but I am actually really, really a big fan of ambroxan. At one time I wasn't, but I am. It's a dry, woody, dusty, amber, musky, aquatic, marine ingredient to extend the life of fragrances. It's very synthetic. I love it. On the other hand, I hate cologne. To me, I have the same experience with cologne as this person that wrote about the most disgusting note ever. It's nauseating. Cologne to me, whoa. If I smell it, it's vomit inducing. It is like fish in your nose, and I absolutely cannot stand cologne. But ambroxan I usually really love. I love it, and I'm addicted to the way it smells. It smells like cocaine. What do you guys think? Let me know if you like ambroxan. Let me know if you hate ambroxan. Let me know your favorite notes. Let me know the notes that you despise, you hate. Put a comment down below so I can find out. And then finally, the worst house, according to Jamie. Mancera is officially the worst house in the entire world. You better off pissing on yourself to get a compliment. I don't know. I enjoy Mancera. I don't love everything from Mancera, but I really enjoy some of their fragrances, especially as of late. There's 2 fragrances that they launched within the last couple of years. One just came out that I'm addicted to and I love. For me, the worst from Mancera are these 2. Black Gold and Wild Cherry. I consider these really, really boring fragrances, but really, really obsessed with these 2 lately. Amor Cafe and Tonka Cola. Do you guys like Amor Cafe and Tonka Cola? And what do you guys think about Wild Cherry and Black Gold? Black Gold I find to be boring. It's not one of the worst, but in comparison to the other Mancera fragrances, it is. But Wild Cherry is really bad. It's a bad fragrance. But these 2 are really, really great. Let me know if you're a fan of Mancera and why do you enjoy Mancera fragrances. Let me know if you are not a fan of Mancera. Why do you consider it one of the worst houses? Put a comment down below. And do let me know if you've been enjoying Tonka Cola and Amor Cafe. What do you guys think about it? Amor Cafe is so delicious. It's kind of like an affogato come to life. Coffee, vanilla, and things like that. And Tonka Cola, of course, is tonka beans and cola fizziness and cherries. Really, really wonderful fragrances. But anyway, that's all I have for you guys today. What are your thoughts on these fragrances? Do you like them? Do you hate them? Put a comment down and do let me know which fragrances do you consider the worst. Which note do you consider the worst? Which brand or house do you consider the worst? Put a comment down below so I can find out. But thanks so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please list below. Please like this video. Please share it. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook. And I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye.